And here we go. Run the Tibby podcast. We are back, season 2, episode 1. I am your host, Steven Diaz, joined by the other hosts, TJ Tibbs, Harry Hazen. We are here. We are back, season 2. It has been a minute. And here is what we have on the menu for episode 1. So, yesterday, James Harden got traded to the Brooklyn Nets, New York's basketball team. And uh, there was a little discussion between Tibbs and one of his players, Justin Zeres. On Twitter, Justin Zeres said something like, the NBA isn't competitive with the super teams and players joining, superstar players joining other superstar players to ultimately win a championship. And apparently that makes it easier for them. And he said something eventually that he said that college basketball is more fun or more entertaining to watch than NBA basketball for whatever reason. But
because he's a freshman, that's why.
yeah, it's just a freshman take. But a lot of people say that. I think a lot of regular vanilla fans that don't really
Whoa!
aren't.
Wow. We're in a lot of social movements right now. What do you mean
vanilla?
just fans that don't really care. The fans are just.
Oh, you mean like
plain fans, not skin color, not vanilla skin colored fans.
Because, listen. I did, as a residential black guy, I wanted to make sure we understood what was going on, because somebody would have been keyboard smashing. They call them vanilla fans. So I just wanted to make sure that we was doing,
Going into 2021, please refer to me as vanilla from this point
forward. So Vanilla Harry, what is your take on people saying that college basketball is better or more entertaining than NBA basketball?
It's funny. I used to have this conversation multiple times with Coach Nolan when I was at York. I think the main reason, in my opinion, that people would say college basketball is more entertaining. Well, first off, I don't agree with that, but I think the reason people would say it is because it's a more relatable brand of basketball to 99.9% of the world. Like, none of us have ever played an NBA game. None of us know what it's like to be the point guard coming off a ball screen 40 feet from the basket and no one's allowed to help because everyone else on the court can shoot from 30 feet away. Like, it's just such a brand of basketball that no one has ever experienced before. But to that same point, that's why it's better. Like, it's so different because everyone is so good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't understand the angle of watching people who are the best at something is not the most entertaining. Like, I just don't get that. Like, so then why don't you go to like a bunch of low-level public school games and watch that at prime time at 7 p.m. You know, like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. That's my answer.
Yeah, for me, I understand what people say. It's easier to get behind programs and teams, especially in the era like this free agency and people on contracts demanding trade. So, if you're a Kevin Durant fan and, myself, I'm a Knicks fan, but I love the Thunder. And the big reason I love the Thunder was, young Durant and Russell Westbrook. And then if you call yourself a Durant fan, then obviously you've been a fan of the Thunder, you've been a fan of the Warriors, and now you've been a fan of the Nets. In college, it's you kind of fans of the teams and the programs and maybe even the coaches that are a little bit more stable. Obviously, the players are naturally changing every 4 years or less, depending on what program that you root for. So I think people have a lot more loyalty to their college teams because like that program is never really changing. North Carolina, the players have changed, but North Carolina basketball and its dominance in the country and the ACC has always been there. So it's easy for fans to get behind, even if they don't know teams' names. I mean, you see it all the time in college football. People don't have any idea who's on the team besides the quarterback and the best player, and they're just going hard for these teams, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I totally agree. Like, and I just think it's just a personal preference, but there's nothing like NBA basketball, in my opinion, because of the skill level. And for me, just because of I enjoy the chess match, especially in the NBA playoffs, from possession to possession, from game to game, especially. Um, but I just enjoy the high level of everything that goes on because of the resources they have. So they have so many resources and they do so many things. And yeah, I understand. First and foremost, the NBA is entertainment. So the game is built around entertainment. You can't touch people because nobody wants to see people put their arms all over James Harden, Luka Doncic, who can do incredible things with the basketball. Like nobody wants to see a big brolic person put their forearm on them so they can't score the basketball. That's not entertaining. And the bottom line is we turn on these games, the majority of us, whether it's college, NBA, and even high school, right? Because there's a lot of high school games that are on national television. We turn it on to be entertained. There's players in high school that are really good that you hear about. Nobody turns it on and goes, wow, you know what? Their defensive stance is incredible. Like, it's just not something that people say. Like, if the kid scores 8 points but plays incredible defense, everybody's saying he's overrated. So that is literally what the NBA is. It's an offensive juggernaut. The NFL has turned into an offensive juggernaut. People want to see points being scored. College football is an offensive juggernaut. So if you really are a fan of the NBA and, most people don't watch full games of anything. So they're watching highlights, they're reading box scores. So they don't see things on a night in and night out basis. They're not watching full NBA playoff games. So, and kudos to them. And plus there's the narrative, of course, that the guys are spoiled or whatever, because the NBA is the most outspoken league. And pro athletes, by nature of them being pro athletes, the majority of them are going to be spoiled because they've been spoiled since they were 16 years old. That's just the nature of pro sports. And you could get on your high horse about like, oh, Bill Belichick, whatever. That's cool. But there's a reason why he's Bill Belichick. And there's a reason why they're the Patriots. And there's a reason why Greg Popovich and they're the Spurs, because they're like one of one. So most of the organizations are gonna cater to the players because it's a players' league. And having better players ensures that as an owner, my bottom line is that I'm going to make more money. So they're going to immediately sell uber amount of James Harden jerseys, which is going to make the owner a lot of money. So if people can't understand that when they're looking through a lens, then you can't have a conversation about what's better. I can understand what you prefer, but there's no way the best players in the world playing basketball on the same court isn't better than a random college game in terms of the game of basketball.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say that the money aspect kind of taints or spoils what's going on the court, and I think there are some like technical differences just between college basketball, right? Like a college basketball possession is going to last 35 seconds, an NBA possession is going to last 24 seconds. So naturally, there is going to be less ball movement in an NBA possession than there is in a college possession. But I want to get down to why is more passing, is the teamwork aspect of it the reason that people say that college basketball is more pure than NBA basketball? Like, what can an isolation possession be pure basketball? I don't understand how that isn't the purest form of basketball.
So it's funny. As we're talking about this, I'm just like running through all the things that Nolan would like use to drive his point, which most of them were like valid points. And he would say a lot. He'll text me. This is funny. He'll text me when like end of game situations happen in NBA, and it's just like a bad isolation play, and like they miss and they lose the game or whatever. So I think one thing is that the narrative that they don't run anything, there's not a lot of ball movement, that does exist. But my answer to that was always, okay, let's say you're Frank Vogel, LeBron's on your team. LeBron can bring the ball up the court and start whatever play you want in 5 seconds. What is the point of having Kentavious Caldwell-Pope bring the ball up, have LeBron start in the corner, go set a flex screen, and then come off like a zipper? Like, there's no point. Like, just if you want to give the best player the ball and put him in a ball screen, just do that in 5 seconds. And now you have 18 seconds for LeBron to make a play, maybe even get the ball back and make a second play. But it's like, there's really no, I'm not gonna say there's no point for running like very intricate sets in the league, because you see that's how like the shooters will get a lot of their shots. But when we're talking about it's a stars league and you have a star, give them the ball and let them win the game for it. I don't really understand what the.
Yeah, I got into an interesting conversation on Twitter like a couple weeks ago. It was like, what is the delineation of Brad Stevens end of game magic and give the ball to Jason Tatum, right? it was an interesting, like, I thought it was an amazing question, because Brad Stevens is known for his end of game magic, right? Before he had like these great players. And now you have Jason Tatum, who's developing into one of the better players or best players in the NBA, who can just get a basket on anybody, right? So how do you balance running Brad Stevens stuff to get somebody a shot versus give the ball to Jason Tatum and get out the way, because they both work, right? And there's a time for both of them. And, you know, my answer was, and I forget it exactly, but it was kind of like, well, I think it's 40, 40, 20. I think 40% of the time you Brad Stevens it. Like whatever Brad is and whoever it goes to, you let Brad operate. 40% of the time, you just give the ball to Jason Tatum and say, hey, boom, we're doing this. He's getting it in his spot, and we live with the result. But 20% of the time, it should be Brad Stevens magic for Jason Tatum. So, you know, that was my answer. I had to talk with a couple of guys and had a great different amount of opinions. But it's like, yeah, as a coach, what do you do? And in college, teams are trying to just stop a bucket and maybe taking away your best player depending on what your best player does. And the rules are different. Like you can just come out in a true zone. You can severely, like, if you give the ball to your best player in college on the wing to clear it out in ISO, ain't nobody letting him clear it out. Like he's seeing mad bodies. Like it's just not happening. But if you're going to do that help in the NBA, you're clearing mad space for somebody who's probably a 40% shooter on the opposite side to hit a wide open jump shot. So you're really picking your poison when there's not a lot of teams in college that have multiple guys on the floor that shoot over 40% from three. There are some teams, but there's not. So in college, it's always a little bit easier to kind of say, well, I'm going to live with this on a regular basis. In the NBA, it's not. And it's more space. The three-point line is further, which makes the court more space vertically as well as horizontally. So it's tough, and it's just different styles. Like it's the same thing when people were saying about Luka, like, oh, Luka, like your average fan, oh, he only averages 10 points or 12 points in EuroLeague. Well, first of all, it's a completely different game.
Yeah.
Second of all, that's a lot of points for over there. When he comes here and like he said out loud before, it's just like this game is easier, which it's the truth for somebody like him who's been creating in such small windows. Now the windows are so wide, one, because his teammates are better, two, because the court is wider, and three, because the NBA rules are for the offense. So it's just understanding the differences in the game and then just going with your preference.
Something I just want to say this real quick. Something I also just want to add to like the end of the game. What do I want to see? Jason Tatum ISO or Brad Stevens play? Like whether it's college or NBA, as a consumer of the basketball I'm watching, who do I want to see blow the game? Like, do I want to see a potential step back that like almost went in from one of the league's top 15 guys? Or do I want to see like a bunch of action that just doesn't work? Like, why would I want to see that? Why would I want to sit there and be like, yeah, Brad Stevens, man, he blew it. It's not really something.
I get basketball coach nation wanting to see the action because like like that was great action. Like we're watching it from a coach's standpoint and it's more relatable. I understand that, but like, I mean, man, I sat really close to the Thunder bench one year when the last year KD was on the Thunder, um, when they played the Sixers, and it was just an amazing experience for me to see all these other things that you don't see on TV and being that close to the game. So seeing the speed of the game, number one, of everything, and just like on the night where they're not playing their hardest, they're still playing very hard. Like there's a lot of things going on there. And two, like all the minor adjustments or the camaraderie, the chemistry. Like I learned so much more from that one game than I ever did. I've sat next to the court for so many college games because these guys' intellect is just on another level. So they're literally making adjustments in the midst of the game, which doesn't happen that many times in college basketball because the kids aren't at the highest level of IQ, even the highest level of IQ guys. And then they may not have that skill level to execute it. Just think about the smartest player you've ever been around or coached. And then let's say Kevin Durant is as smart as that person. Whoever that smartest person that you've ever coached does not nearly have the skill level as Kevin Durant to execute all these things that they see. So, and even us as coaches, we can see things, but we can't. That's why it's always good to have a coach on the floor because you can't just implement it immediately. You need some sort of stoppage of play, and even that, you got to get five guys on the same page, and then you might not get that same look because it's a chess match. You get a pin down and they trailed it, and you hit a jump shot. They might not trail it the next time. You don't know that. So you got to be on the same page because if they shoot the gap and you're fading, the point guard can't say, well, he tried it last time, I'm about to hit the curl. Like you can't do that. And a coach can't be like, why didn't you do that? It has to be innate with the players. And that's the thing that I love about NBA players because you can't be you have to be smart to be an NBA player. Like sure, there's levels. Like people used to clown JaVale McGee all the time when he was young, but he's a pro's pro. Like you have to be smart, you have to be dedicated to be able to execute things on a nightly basis. Like one day you're playing Dame Lillard, who's gonna pull from the logo, and you got to execute a certain coverage. The next day you're playing Russell Westbrook, who's gonna literally assault the rim every chance he gets, and you have to play a different coverage, and it's a different challenge and problem. And that's the amazing thing for me about NBA basketball is that night in and night out, there's a different challenge, and you got to figure that out mentally and physically.
Yeah, I that goes to a point that Draymond made the other night. Um, I think, and now I certainly think before I say this, I think that there are levels to basketball IQ and knowing the game of basketball, right? So when Draymond says that other players don't know the game of basketball, those players he's talking about probably have a better understanding of basketball than most people. But Draymond, if you watch Draymond play, you could see that his IQ is through the roof. He's definitely a coach on the floor. But I think one point that a lot of people bring up when they compare college and NBA basketball is that they'll say like coaching doesn't matter. Like the players aren't coached as much as college basketball players. Obviously, they see this through like the passing, the teamwork, and then when you have like Jason Tatum, who we were talking about before, you can just let him. You could go hands off and just let him do his thing. But like, why do people say that NBA teams aren't coached? I think it's just wrong, number one. But like, why do obviously coaches matter in the NBA?
Tibbs, I want to let you answer that question, but I just want to say the people that say that, I would love to see them coach an NBA team for 48 minutes. Like, what, like people say that, oh, LeBron walks all over his coaches. It's like, what would you do to coach LeBron? Like, what are you gonna do? You know, that is a serious question. You don't have to answer it. I'll just let that sit there. Tibbs, go ahead.
Uh, I think it's because I think people relate coaching to what goes on during the game. And with college coaching or youth coaching, there's a lot more emotion. You play a game on
Mm.
Wednesday and then you play a game on Saturday. NBA, you play a game on Wednesday, the game's over at 11 p.m. You're getting on a flight at 12, you're getting in at 4, and then you're playing another game at 7 in another city the next day. Like you literally would would kill yourself if you were as boisterous on the sidelines for 82 games like college coaches can be, because a lot of college coaches aren't, but they can be like that. It's a lot more passion, emotion, the crowd, all that stuff plays into it, and there's less games, so the games matter more on a game to game basis. So the demeanor of most NBA coaches is they just stand there or just sit there. Most of them, they're not really shouting much. They're not really showing too much emotion. And I think the one coach who shows the most emotion, Quinn Snyder, he stalks the sidelines. Like he walks up and down the sidelines. But that's like his personality. So he does that. You're not gonna be in the NBA long as a coach if somebody turns the ball over and you yell at them. You ain't gonna be the coach for that long. And I don't care who you are. And you could say, well, Pop does it. He got on Tim Duncan. It's a very unique franchise.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Kawhi Leonard didn't want to be in that franchise. He was selected. He was drafted there. As he got older, he had success there, but as he got older, that's not what he wanted for his career, which he has a right to do. So everybody is not a fit everywhere. But if you yell at people and you challenge them, and I'm not saying like Ty Lue didn't challenge LeBron James, stuff like that's different. But if you're out there trying to do stuff that gets done in college, like you're just not gonna exist. Like it's a players' league. So I think people see that. They don't see the level of preparation that goes into an NBA game. They don't see the schemes, because NBA is all about schemes and rotations, like literal. Like, all right, we know what time LeBron's gonna come out and who's gonna come in, and then the scheme may change based on who's in the game. There's so much of that stuff that's done beforehand and then maybe adjusted as the game goes on. So there's a lot of dialogue between the 10 guys that are on the bench coaching and things that are going on. And just because it looks different, Coach Petoza, and I say this all the time, Coach Petoza sat down the entire game and he never raised his voice ever. He never admonished you for making a mistake. Like he never yelled across the gym. And he told me when he was younger, he used to do that. And he felt like his teams got riled up when he did it. He felt like he had a negative effect on his team. So over time, he just calmed down. And some people would probably take that as, wow, this coach isn't making an adjustment, or he's not doing this, or he's not having an impact on winning. But you understand that everything that happens in a game, Coach Petoza drilled this for in practice. Everything. Literally any situation that you could be in, Coach prepared us for, and we practice almost every day, certainly every week. But people from the outside would probably think if we were losing and he was coaching that he's not doing anything, that he's a bad coach, when that's just his style. So it's kind of understanding that. There are some of the best coaches in the world that coach in the NBA, obviously, but they're dealing with personalities. They're managing. And then I counter with a lot of those people and go, well, can you tell me what a baseball manager does? Especially now in the day of analytics, especially with people who love baseball. So what effect on winning do baseball managers have? And what's the argument that they're having this big impact? Baseball managers in general and in all levels. I'm somebody who play baseball. And I know baseball managers are integral to the game, but like, can you put down why is basketball getting a bad thing? Because of the narrative of the players being spoiled and the league being so outspoken. All those things bleed into people's opinions about things, and you can see it with this Kyrie situation.
Oof.
You wanna talk about the Kyrie
Oof.
situation?
Oof.
I know you've been posting some stuff.
Let me say this, my man. Let me say this.
Yeah.
Let me say this. And this is a college NBA thing. You know how many people have said to me, you would never let one of your players do that. How is that even a comparison? Like, and how is that even an argument for like why Kyrie, what he's doing is wrong? I don't understand that. Like, at the College of Staten Island, I'm the head coach. I'm raising young men to men. More or less, what I say goes. So, like, that's how it is. Like, the kids aren't in control. They're not. The coaches are in control. It's clear. The kids don't get on what we're doing. They're not going to be there, right? We have great kids, so we don't have that problem. But like, and I want to use a situation without naming names. And in my first year, I had a situation, and I want to make sure that people know it's my first year because I didn't have the relationship with the kids in the program like I do now. So my first year, I had a situation where a kid was going through something. okay? But he was also going about things in our program not in the best of ways. That was mixing. I didn't really know he was going through something because he didn't verbalize that. I knew something might have been going on, but he wasn't acting in the best of ways in the program. So that's what I was focused on. After one game, he was really upset. He's really emotional. Told me he quit. I'm done. I can't do this. I'm done. I'm out of here. Sure, no problem. Honestly, for a brief moment, it kind of felt like a relief because we were trying to figure this kid out for a while. I couldn't get on the same page with him. He couldn't get on the same page with me, whatever the case may be. 2-3 games later, he reached out to me, came to my office. We sat down. We had a real talk like men. Told me he was going through a lot of stuff. He was all over the place. He could barely put his words and sentences together. Me being somebody who cares about him and me being somebody who has made mistakes in my life, had a real conversation with him. Hey, listen, would love to have you back. This is how it's going to be because in life you can't just up and just quit something and think you can come back. These are the things that you have to do, but we will welcome you back. But it's not going to be the same as when you were before. You're not going to have this. You're not going to be starting. You have to earn that. And honestly, I don't even know if you're going to start eventually. So I don't want to say that. Cool. I could have easily, especially in my first year where we ended up losing like 5 kids anyway, I could have easily said, no, you're not coming back. No, you quit. That's final. You're hazardous to the team. I'm not giving you special treatment and all that. But we gave the kid a chance. And now to this day, he's one of my favorite people in life. We have the best relationship, right? Because kids make mistakes. We all have made mistakes. So kids make mistakes. But I had every bit of my right to tell him to kick rocks and go home. And nobody would have questioned it. The Kyrie situation. If I was the head coach of the Kyrie situation, guess what? Kyrie was brought there before me. Actually, Kevin Durant and the Nets, they have said they didn't even know he was coming until he announced it publicly. They didn't even know they were coming. So you have 2 of the best 10 players, or 5, whatever you want to say, in the NBA who chose your franchise. This is a business decision. You need them to accomplish the goals that they need to have.
Oh, yeah.
Who am I as a business person to tell this guy, kick rocks and go? We're trading you. And it doesn't make any sense business-wise. First of all, credit to Steve Nash in general. This is not a Steve Nash thing. This is a front office thing. Steve Nash cannot tell this guy to kick rocks. That's not his position. His position is to coach the players that are there. It's not his position to tell him to kick rocks. The players run the league. Unfortunately, you can say, oh, what are they showing the kids? What? What are you talking about? What do you mean, what are they showing the kids? It's not even a comparison. The NBA is not built to be role models for the kids. They're not. Some people embrace that more than others because kids watch them. But a requirement to play in the NBA isn't that you have to be a role model. You should, right? I believe that. But what I don't understand, what is it showing the kid? Are you going to tell me that some kid out there is going to not show up to his game because Kyrie did it? I don't understand that. Like, I really don't understand what people are saying. And
St. Teresa's next
somebody's
game.
not going to show up for my dad's St. Teresa's 8th grade game and be like, nah, I just didn't feel like playing today, Pop. Like,
no answers. Your dad's going to reach out to the parent and he's going to say, just didn't want to play today.
Right.
Instagram video shows up. He's at a birthday party.
He's at Chuck E. Cheese, like getting mad tokens. But like, we need to stop comparing. Like we said this before the pod aired. Like, it's not even an apples and oranges situation. It's an apples to chicken situation. Like, it's not even like what they do in the NBA is not what I do with my team. It's not what my dad does with 8th grade CY. It's not even close. These people are paid professionals. Now, the one thing I've said about it is that he's not carrying himself professionally, and the things that he has done before this has bled into this. Like, if he was some random NBA player that was doing this, he would get more of the benefit of the doubt. It's kind of his own fault. He's kind of put himself in that situation where how he's handled things professionally. But literally, nobody knows what's going on in the public. Everybody who's talking about it, nobody knows. And like all these quotes, people retweet these fake quotes all the time. Like, Oh, sources say Kyrie said I didn't feel like playing. Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
Who said?
who in the world said that? You really think like that? And we're using that as a Kyrie quote that doesn't fit, or like, oh, people saying like, oh, he's just so moved by this the capital situation and social justice stuff. Like, yo, we don't know what's going on until either the Nets or Kyrie Irving come out and say what's going on. And how are you mad? Right? Oh, I've heard this too. Oh, me and you can never take a PTO day off like this. First of all, NBA players get at least 120 PTO days. It's called the off season, right? They get paid, and it's already built in, so they have way more days, right? And let me get this: I would love for Kyrie to show up and play basketball, right? But you're mad at Kyrie Irving for doing something that his employer is letting him get away with? I don't understand that, because I'm going to tell you this right now. I love my job. If I had a chance for a week in the off season to go fly to a warm weather place and just hang out and not have any responsibility with basketball, I think I would do that. If I was still going to get paid, if I wasn't going to get punished, I think everybody who has a job would do that, because we all need a break sometimes. But the thing about American 9-to-5 workers or salary is that you have to show up, or you have to weigh whether to use one of your days or not.
You don't exactly. So I want you to know on Friday, I think I don't remember what the situation was with Kyrie, but somebody was at my job was talking about Kyrie and how, oh, I wish I could just not show up for work. I want you to know on Saturday, this guy called out for work. I swear on everything. He called out. Guess what? Got paid. Good. You're good. You're good. You accumulated the hours or whatever you got to do, and you didn't show. You got paid to not show up to work.
How about this? Every job has its perks, whatever it may be. And he has earned that. Like, oh, you think they would do that if it was the eighth man on the bench? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not, right? I don't know. But, like, we literally do not know what's going on. Like, no idea what's going on. Because people would feel really, really bad if, like, something really tragic happened and he's just like, yo, what if this – let's do this what if scenario since people want to play what if. What if something really tragic happened? Doesn't have to be a death. Like, something really tragic happened, and he was just like, yo, you know what? I can't do it. I don't want to play. I just can't. You know what? I want to retire. I'm retiring. That doesn't help the Nets. That doesn't help the NBA. So what if the Nets say, hey, listen, take as much time as you need. You know you're just being really emotional. Do what you got to do. We'll be here when you come back. Because, in effect, without me knowing it, with that story that I used, that's what happened with me and one of the players on my team, right? Because people are complex, emotional, multi-layered people, right? And we've all have gone to work a day where we didn't feel like going for whatever reason. Physically, mentally, emotionally, our mind is in another place. And we've all felt that way. But you have to wake up and weigh whether or not you're going to use your day off. Or maybe you're not going to use your day off. Maybe you don't have any days off and you're going to tell your boss, I don't care, I'm not coming. So you can either fire me or you can just dock my pay, but I'm willing to deal with that. And who's to say Kyrie isn't willing to get his pay docked? They're just not doing it. That leads me to believe further that something is really going on. Right. Because they can easily find him, but they're not for whatever reason. So that makes me believe that something serious is going on. Now, the optics of it, of Kyrie being at a birthday party and all that, they're not great. They're not great optics. I understand that. But if somebody's trying to take time off from the game of basketball for whatever reason, and their employer is letting them do that. LeBron James went to Miami when he played in Cleveland for a week in the middle of the season. Like, yo, I'm going to Miami for a week. I'm going to be in the sun. I'm going to work out. Like, you think the Cavaliers are going to say no? They're literally stealing. What they don't understand, what people don't understand about these NBA superstars is that they're all underpaid. They're all underpaid. LeBron James, Yo, Manny Machado, does anybody know what he is? If Manny Machado walked into my gym tomorrow and there were no baseball players from CSI, I don't think anybody would know that's Manny Machado. Manny Machado makes like 30. Okay, he makes like 30, 40 million dollars a year. If he walked into my crib right now, I would say, help! I'm getting robbed. Help! Help! I wouldn't say, whoa, it's Manny Machado and I'm on some sort of TV show. No, I would think I'm getting robbed. I have no idea. And I've seen him, but I wouldn't know if he walked into my front door right now. LeBron James, for as much as he gets paid, is one, not the highest paid player in the NBA. And two, in an open market would command at least $150 million a year.
Probably.
No. $150 million a year at least for him to be on your team. He don't even have to play. You don't think when his son comes into the NBA, if he makes it, I don't want to do that to his son because he's a sophomore in high school, but you don't think when his son gets drafted to a random team, you don't think his son's going to get drafted higher than he should because LeBron's going to be a free agent and may sign to that team? Can you think about all the money and they got the logos on the jerseys now, all this branding, how you can sell your commercials for your broadcast and all this stuff, ticket sales, all these things that are going to happen because LeBron James is a part of your franchise. That is a drop in a bucket paying LeBron James $45 million a year. So these guys are severely underpaid.
Never mind what that's going to bring to the city. I was just talking about Harden coming to Brooklyn, and I was like, "Yo, Manhattan is about to be lit because of this. Like, Harden is about to be out and about in the city, like doing all this shit. That's gonna bring. Well, obviously, when COVID is over, that's gonna bring like people out and make the city popping."
How many times have you traveled to Philadelphia 76ers game or somebody else's stadium in another sport because the tickets are cheaper? You understand? To go see your favorite player, right? Because we just had the Knicks here before they became the Brooklyn Nets. I've been to so many more Nets games in my life because they're cheaper, right? I don't know if that's still going to be the case now, maybe, probably, but I've been to so many more Nets games in Brooklyn and at the Meadowlands because the tickets are cheaper. So much that I thought I was a Nets fan growing up. I just realized that my parents were just doing the economically correct thing. Like I've seen my favorite player, Penny Hardaway, play one time in my life in person. And that was at Wells Fargo in Philadelphia when he was on the Suns, because the tickets were definitely way cheaper than him coming and playing at the Garden for me and my friends to go. So yeah, like it's a business. When you start thinking about anything in the NBA, before you open your mouth, understand that it is entertainment. These guys are a traveling tour. It's a tour. It's literally they're on tour. That's what they're doing. It is less about competition and it's more about being on tour. They're on tour, traveling from city to city, doing what they need to do, going in other people's markets and making other people money. So
I have three things to say. And this is the first one is what I've been holding back laughter from. I saw a lot of Penny Hardaway in my day because I had Knicks season tickets and I saw him when he was not good at basketball. On the Knicks.
That's a brag in itself. Wow. It's a brag in itself. My man's got Knicks season tickets.
That's one. Two, I just think in general, the Kyrie thing it's just like unprofessional. Like what he's just say why you're not playing and then that's it. You know,
I think, but he's made it a point that he does not care what the media, like he doesn't care to respond to the media. Like he was not trying to. What did he do in the beginning of the season where he was like not trying to talk to the media at all? Yeah. Like he doesn't care about his image in the media. I wouldn't be surprised if he told something to the Nets, like just as like in between them, and he was like, "I don't care what you tell the media. Just I don't care."
Fair. Number three, which ties into that, I think even going back to the broader scope of the conversation, like college stands versus NBA stands, the college basketball fan is probably really pissed off that one, Kyrie Irving is going to re-enter the Nets team and not have to run a punishment suicide or anything. He is going to come back right back into his minutes, not having to get back in shape. He is also going to start and probably score 35 points in his first game, and the Nets are going to be the funnest team to watch in the NBA, and there's nothing that your local middle school, public school coach can do to stop that from happening, because as we said, the NBA is just different.
Yeah, I think a lot of college fans of the college game want to see Steve Nash do the Timo Cruz and make him do 5,000 push-ups, and they want the team to join in and do push-ups for him and shit like that. And
Kevin
like,
Durant, I'll do him, coach.
I'll do him, coach.
Yeah,
I got
like,
suicides.
Like,
I'll do push-ups too.
Just take it what it is. Like, for me, I don't care about all this other drama that goes on in the NBA. Like, I'd much rather, as a consumer, have Kyrie out there playing basketball. I do understand that these people are people, and there are other things that they're thinking about. But it also, if we want to be real, a lot of the people that have these takes about that are the same people that are mad, like, at a lot of things that are going on in the NBA or the NFL, and they try to bleed all these things into the same thing. Like, you can have separate thoughts about it. And let me make it clear, I'm not saying what Kyrie is doing is an amazing thing, but I also don't know what's going on. So for me to comment, and we got to stop believing everything. The only thing I believe in the media when it comes to NBA is Woj. If Woj, because he has consistently tweeted stuff that has been true or reported on stuff that has been true. And like, when he says sources, like, he knows. When people say sources, they're speculating, they're looking for a story. So the whole sources thing, the whole fact that we let people build narratives off of people saying stuff about other people but not putting their name on it is just ridiculous to me. That doesn't make any sense. Like, how in the world? Like, that doesn't work in regular life. How can I tell Harry, like, yo, bro, somebody said that you're the worst trainer in the world, which somebody has said.
Somebody right? Did say that.
Right.
Yesterday.
Stop. So, yo, Harry, somebody said you're the worst trainer in the world. And Harry is like, well, who said that? And I said, sources.
I can tell you what I said.
Now we not gonna get into that. We're not gonna get into that. So if you got another is there a last thing with the college NBA thing, or?
I think one thing I wanted to touch on was that, you saying that the NBA is a business, clearly, and that I think those are things that turn the college fan off, saying that these guys are just celebrities going on tour to perform in different cities to make the money.
Stop you, bro. I gotta stop you. I'm sorry, you have a great point. But then this is the thing. Are they gonna tell me that college basketball is not a business?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
You know what I mean? Like, you're absolutely right, Steve. College basketball, though, when I say the NBA is a business, what I mean is that the players are getting as much from it as the owners are. I mean, not really, because the owners are billionaires and the players are millionaires, like, and whatever. And for us working people, it just seems like they're arguing over millions of dollars. They got all this here, but like, you don't understand. Like, the players drive the league, and owners are sitting back and making all this money. Yeah, the players are making money. To me, it's a fair trade-off. And they're eating off the middle class or whatever that is paying this money to see people. So there's a lot of things, like, I feel about load management. Like, I can't stand that. Like, people who do load management, I will not go and try to see their team play because I'm not giving money to that. As a professional, I just don't agree with that. So I'm not going to give my money to support that. But the NCAA is traveling everywhere during a pandemic. Division I, right? You got some Division II schools out there playing. You even have some Division III schools out there playing. But if this wasn't generating money from TV revenue for people, they wouldn't be playing. So y'all could sit there and try to act like college basketball is the purest form of basketball. These kids are paying for the love. First of all, that is not the case. Second of all,
yeah.
I never believed the kids should be getting paid more than I do right now. The kids should be getting paid. And I'm not talking about my kids, not because they're my kids, because we're Division II. We're not generating. We lose money every year.
Not on ESPN.
We're not generating. We're not traveling across the country in a pandemic. We're actually not practicing or playing games right now. So not talking about my kids. But if you're playing right now because you're generating revenue for a school or a conference, they should be getting paid.
Yeah.
Those kids should certainly be getting paid 1,000,000%. The big time college football and especially all college basketball, they should certainly be getting paid. And it's ridiculous that they're not getting paid when they're traveling around everywhere during the pandemic. And you say, oh, they're all choosing to play whatever. Yeah, they're kids. Jalen Waddle the other day, who was out the whole entire season because he broke his ankle or his foot, I forget, wanted to play in the championship game. And I was torn on what happened with this because he was out there. He was clearly not 100%. He was limping a lot. And at one point, he looked really bad. Like he was really favoring his foot. And a lot of my Twitter feed was like killing people. Like, who in the world told this guy he should play? Somebody should get him out there. That is one aspect of kids want to play, right? Kids just want to play. I mean, look, my body's not what it used to be, but if somebody gives me an opportunity to play basketball today, I'm going to go play. Even though I'm going to be sore for 4 or 5 days, even though I'm not nearly as good as I was, I want to play. Kids just want to play. They want to do what they want to do, what they love to do. On the other end, as a coach, how do you, if a kid is cleared to play by the professionals that you trust, how do you look a kid in the eye and tell him that he can't play? You can try to tell him, like, look, we're going to limit you or whatever, but these kids are really good. Jalen Waddle's really good because he's an ultimate competitor. So, like, how do you rein that in when you've been pushing that button for 3 years to get that out of him? How do you now try to rein that in? So I'm not mad at, like, them for having him out there. I think they handled it great. He was cleared to play. They let him get out there. The moment he looked really bad, you never seen him in the game again. And I think that kid would appreciate that. I think they did their best to keep him healthy. Definitely the questions before the game were, well, him going out there, what's the chance of him re-injuring himself? Because the kid's going to the NFL. So you don't want to ruin his career, but there's an aspect of him as a competitor that wanted to be out there with his teammates. They didn't need him to win. They knew that. They didn't need him to win. But he wanted to be a part of it if they were going to win the national championship. You know, he's a kid that it's probably his last time in college, and he wanted to do that. So people need to understand that. It's a business in the NBA, for sure. But at least the players are getting
a piece
compensated. Yeah, they're getting a piece of the pie. College players are not getting a piece of the pie. And I never believed they should get paid. I always felt this way, but I never felt they should get paid because nobody makes you go to college. So you know what it is before you get there, even though I don't agree with it. But you know what it is. You don't get to college and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, they're not paying us. Like, you know that. But now that they're playing in a wintry pandemic outside, those kids should be getting paid. Period.
I was about to say, in general, and now this is turning into a COVID conversation, but whatever. If you look at every like brand of basketball that's being played right now, it's NBA, D1, and then like youth and prep, like club basketball, which is just like also the things that make money. But PSL is not playing, Catholic League's not playing, D3, D2 not playing. So it's like, clearly if you're playing basketball, it is for money. It is for someone to make money. If you are not making money because you're a player, you're either 10 years old or you're a Division I athlete that probably should be getting paid.
Yeah. I think, that's a great point. I hate when people say that the NBA is a business and this and that. The college is the business, like it more of a business than the NBA. But I think some other points to be made is that college basketball emulates or tries to emulate NBA basketball as much as it can. And let's keep in mind, college basketball, they're preparing the players to go, if you're at one of these schools, preparing the players to go to the NBA. So if they're not playing somewhat similar, they're not doing their job properly. This is why Syracuse has an issue, because they can't produce the last relevant NBA player they produced, legit NBA player they produced, was Melo.
Wesley
Johnson was a solid. He had years in the league, but the point is, when you play a 2-3 defense all season one particular way, that's teaching your kids to play one particular way all season. It's not NBA teams don't do that. So, like and a lot of people say like that defense is fun to watch. Boxing out is fun to watch. No, it's not. Let me say, Pat Beverly is entertaining. Pat Beverly is entertaining. Okay, he's just I'm not even gonna say that he's a glorified hack. I'm not gonna say that, but that's how I feel about Pat Beverly. Defense walling up, bro. Like 38 to 35 is not a fun basketball game to watch. How is that fun? How is that entertaining?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Go ahead, Ari.
My fault. Real quick. I remember we were talking about this yesterday. There's no way. I have two quick things. One, there's no way that if I am watching a basketball game, the funner basketball game is the one where the ball goes in the basket 40 times instead of the NBA game where the ball goes in the basket probably like 100 and something times. Like there's just no way. That's why you're watching the game. And then two, to further that point, I think people think that NBA basketball, like, oh, they don't play defense. Let's just give people their flowers and understand that the majority of these guys are impossible to guard. We were talking about this last night. The primary way, and this is like comical to even think about, the primary way to stop a point guard coming off a ball screen is to tell the big, do not participate in guarding this ball screen and just sit under the basket, commonly known as a drop coverage, and just pray to God that the point guard can make a mid-range jump like they take not even that they make or miss, just that they take a mid-range jump shot and they're cool with that. That is the most efficient way to guard a pick and roll in the NBA. So if you're going to sit here and tell me that they don't play defense, no, the real thing is you should be appreciating the fact that they're impossible to guard. And you should be, again, to what Steve just said, you should be trying to emulate some of the things that they do, at least offensively. Maybe even as it gets to like training your kids, which is a whole nother conversation. But like, why are we not looking at that? I don't know. Tibbs, go ahead.
Yeah, they don't understand like they're impossible to scheme against because, in college, you can like kids are younger, they're still developing, they're not at their best. So there are flaws that most kids have that maybe you can try to scheme to get them to those flaws. So you may have an incredible pick and roll player, point guard, but he can't pass with his left hand that well. So you make him go use a pick and roll going to his left all the time. And then you just heavily pull in the weak side low man because he's never going to make that one-hand whip pass all the way over there to expose you. But when you do stuff like that against the James Hardens, the Kyries, the Kevin Durant, who's an incredible pick and roll player, all these guys, it's pick your poison. So you're really trying to scheme against like preventing a three-pointer first and foremost, and then preventing a layup. And then everything else in between is like, okay, well, if he takes this mid-range jump shot, that's a win. And if he makes it, okay, that's whatever. We're going to try to go get a three at the other end. Or we're gonna try
Which is crazy. That's crazy.
It is. Like, people don't understand, like, you can't scheme to
They
stop.
have to be as efficient as possible. They have to be because they're so good. If they're not, they're going to lose. That's what it comes down to.
And I know like analytics is such a taboo word for people that don't understand it. And I don't want to say it like that. Like I totally understand everything about analytics because I don't. And I don't agree with everything about analytics. But just the game theory of what basketball is, it's an equal opportunity game. You get a chance to score as much as I get a chance to score. That happens in every single basketball game. Whether what you do with that chance to score is on you, which is a turnover, a made basket, a missed basket, or a free throw. So that's on you. But in every single game of basketball that has happened, you get a chance to score as much as I get a chance to score. So if I'm literally attempting to score 200 points via only 3-point shots, I have a better chance at scoring more points just because I have a higher ceiling of scoring points. And if you only come down and say, yo, how about this? At the beginning of the game, I'll tell you, you can score in every single possession that we play, but it's you got fouled and you only make one free throw. Are you taking that? And then you just got to play defense the rest of the time. It's a game of efficiency, and it's figuring out how to maximize that efficiency. It doesn't have to be as mechanical as some like franchises have made it. You have to be multiple for a lot of different reasons. But every time down on the floor is trying to figure out the most efficient way to get an efficient basket, and doing that over and over again. And that's literally what the game is. So, nah, man, stuff is crazy.
Right. And so that's why the NBA game is so much more impressive than the college game, because of the demand of being as efficient as you can possibly be. But we touched on a lot: college versus NBA, Kyrie stuff. There's a lot to unpack here. If you got to this point, appreciate you listening. Season 2, episode 1. We will be back with episode 2 very soon. And we about to order this pizza, and we out.